Welcome back to Washington Watch. I'm your host, Tony Perkins. The website, tonyperkins.com. So good to have you with us. All right, we've been talking a lot about different school districts that are pushing this critical race theory as a part of the curriculum. Well, in North Carolina, there is currently, in fact, I think the vote takes place this week on the Board of Education, of new standards that would include critical race theory. Well, the Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina has spoken out about this. He happens to be a conservative Republican, and he said we should not be teaching these things in, to really taint the minds of kids and turn them to be un-American or anti-American. Well, his outspoken criticism of this led to an editorial cartoon published by the WRAL.com, owned by Capital Broadcasting, depicting him as a Ku Klux Klansman. Now, it just so happens that Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson is the first black lieutenant governor elected in the state of North Carolina. And he joins us now by phone. Lieutenant Governor, welcome to the program.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me.
Well, absolutely, sir. Thank you for joining us. There's two things I want to talk about. One, I want to talk about this curriculum because you have very accurately assessed it as poisoning the minds of kids to turn them anti-American. And so I want you to address that. But then I want to go to this double standard of how a media outlet in North Carolina could portray you as a Klansman and get away with it.
Well, on the first issue, what we're talking about here is not necessarily the curriculum. What we're talking about is the standards. And the standards set the stage, more or less, for the curriculum. And my major objection to the standards is the actual tone. One of my colleagues on the board today did a fantastic job of describing why the standards are of a poor tone or anti-American tone when he said that if you look at them in their totality, it's more like if you gave them a title, it'd be like calling them 50 Reasons Why the United States of America is Terrible. It's very, very, it's sliding towards anti-Americanism. Mm-hmm. And, it would be one thing if I thought that school systems would be fair in their application of these standards. But I'm going to be quite frank with you. I do not believe that's going to happen. I don't believe that that's happening now in our school system. Our school systems right now are very slanted, and they talk about inclusion a lot. But oftentimes conservative voices are silent, pushed out, not allowed. And so we want to have standards that our children learn by, that, number one, are going to teach real history. And when we talk about real history, we are talking about teaching everything.
Right.
As they say, warts and all. We're not trying to hide anything from students. We're not trying to disavow slavery. We're not trying to disavow any of the terrible things that have happened in this nation. But the point we're trying to get across is this, is that children need to understand that the things we want to teach children, while we're teaching them about those bad things, that we also want to teach them that in this nation, to a great extent, we've been able to overcome those things through our American system. And that makes our nation exceptional, and that makes our nation great. And that's exactly what we want to do with these standards. And I do not believe that these standards will do this. I believe that these standards will lead to some very bad things being taught in our classroom.
Well, I think it kind of locks us in time in the past where these problems were prevalent, but as you said, we've overcome them. And one issue you pushed back on, you said their code words like systematic racism, and you took issue with that because you said you don't think that's where America is. And I would think, quite frankly, that you are a part of the evidence of that, as was Barack Obama, as is Kamala Harris, that we do not have systemic racism. Do we have racism? Yes, we still have ethnic-driven decisions, but it's not ingrained in our system any longer.
Right. When we talk about systemic racism, you talk about it, and I've tried to get this point across. There have been times in this nation where racism has been part of the landscape. That is no doubt.
Right.
There have been racist people and racist entities that have tried to use our system and have taken backhanded attempts with our system to create municipalities, create states that promote the ideas of white supremacy and put racist policies in place. But the point that I've tried to get across to people is this. The way we have overcome those things is with our American system of government, our founding document, which speaks explicitly about all men being created equal. It speaks explicitly about the man's God-given rights, and it talks, all the things that are embodied in our Bill of Rights. Every issue that we've had to tackle in this nation, whether it be slavery or whether it be Jim Crow or whether it be the lunch counter being separated or whether it be the rights of people of all stripes to get married, it always boils down to our Constitution. And that is how we do things in this nation. And that's why I really believe that our Constitution is the greatest document on earth, because that is how we fight back against racism.
Right.
It's how we fight back against bigotry. We use our American system of government, our Constitution, and all the things thereof.
So, Lieutenant Governor Robinson, what is motivating those on the other side of this debate to push this kind of stuff into the classrooms that really, twist the minds of our kids in their view of America?
What I really believe is driving all this is an anti-American sentiment that's going to push, and I'm going to say this plain, going to push a socialist agenda. I really do. Socialism is something that is on the rise in this nation. I saw it being taught heavily when I was in a university as a grown man. My children witnessed it when they were in high school, and many parents have told me that that is ultimately the end.
Well, Lieutenant Governor, I want to thank you for joining us today, and I want to thank you for standing up and speaking out about this. I know you could take on other issues, but I think you are absolutely right in focusing on this because I think it's extremely important for the future of our nation. So thanks so much for being with us today. To find out more about the Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, Mark Robinson, go to the website, TonyPerkins.com, and you can follow the links over.